All right, welcome back to the channel. So, Pauli Malignaggi was fired by Showtime. The boxing media came out, or some members of the boxing media came out and gave the reasons why. However, now Steven Espinoza and some people from Showtime let you know what the real reason is, and it's not quite what we were thinking, but it's a good look for Showtime. So let's talk about the real reason that Pauli Malignaggi was let go from Showtime. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So this is a good subject, man. I really enjoy talking about this, but I'm very glad that Steven Espinoza, who had an interview on Lance Pugmire and Mike Coppinger's podcast. I think it was for the Atlantic too. I do believe it was a podcast that they have for the Atlantic. It's called like Lance and Pug. If I mispronounced that podcast name, please forgive me. But it was a very, very good episode, and there was an article written about it as well, which gave a lot of detail, or pretty much everything that I need to know to understand what the real reason was that Pauli Malignaggi got fired by Showtime, and also clears up some misconceptions that are out there. So let's go through it. Before I do that, though, special thank you for coming and watching this video. I hope that you watch it all the way to the end, and I would truly appreciate it if you did. We go through this topic in several phases, so it's best to watch the video all the way to the end. Thank you guys so much to support as a channel member. Thank you to everybody that supports on the Patreon. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit the bell icon, all the good stuff that you know to do when you go to a YouTube channel to support the channel. And thank you so much for your support. Well, let's give a little bit of background here. Pauli Malignaggi was a commentator for Showtime. And Pauli Malignaggi has this personality where he is telling you like it is, or telling you what he thinks, kind of similar to a Teddy Atlas, right? So, but Pauli Malignaggi got himself in some trouble lately with some statements that he made about black people. Specifically, what he said was that that racial oppression in this century is just something that we made up. He referred to us. He talked about that outside of boxing. Within boxing, he said that he basically referred to black people and white people as different species. And it's just it's just very insulting comment that he gave, right? And so when the news broke that he was fired, I know a lot of people reasonably said, "Oh, well, it was this interview right here." Well, actually, they didn't just think that themselves; they were told that in an article by Boxing Scene. I believe it was Boxing Scene that broke it, and then said, "Hey, no, the reason why he got fired was this. He got fired because of some statements that he made about immigrants in an IFL TV interview." Now, I know of the interview, and a lot of people that have channel knew about that interview, and Pauli Malignaggi didn't say the word immigrant not once. What he said was some very racially charged opinions that he had, right? And I won't go into the specifics now. And he said it not only just about boxing, but he said it about things outside the ring. Now, so a lot of people are like, that's what got Pauli Malignaggi fired, or the media reported that's what got Pauli Malignaggi fired. They asked Pauli Malignaggi to apologize. Pauli Malignaggi refused to apologize, and therefore he was let go. Now, according to the article that is out by Lance Pugmire, I think Lance Pugmire is the one that wrote the article, or it might have been Mike Coppinger that wrote the article. Please forgive me. It's one of the two, though. They actually, they have the podcast where they interview Steven Espinoza, and Steven Espinoza says that that there's a lot of reports out there by the media that are telling you that it was one particular instance, and he's saying that is incorrect, that is not the case, that it wasn't just one instance that led to the firing of Pauli Malignaggi, but it was, as he said, it was that we have very high standards, and he implied that Pauli Malignaggi over time failed to live up to those standards. Now, along with what Stephen Espinosa said, there was also conversation, the article where they interviewed people who are associated with Showtime. And what they said about Pauli Malignaggi was that this particular IFL interview was not what got him fired. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that Pauli Malignaggi had been who had been at odds with Showtime for some and his co-workers for some time. And that was for two reasons. One was related, and according to Pauli, who said that himself, was related to the Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. fight, where Pauli Malignaggi made himself the center, put himself, in the front, forefront and center of that fight's promotion by sparring with Conor McGregor and going back with Conor McGregor, right? Instead of being, the analyst who's just covering the fight, that he chose to put himself in the middle of the promotion, and that didn't set right with Showtime, right? Now that's something that Pauli Malignaggi said himself. Now, as far as co-workers said that they were tired of making excuses for Pauli Malignaggi because of the type of things Pauli Malignaggi was saying and the type of opinions that he had, right? So they did not say specifically who it was that was upset by Pauli, but they said his co-workers. So you have guys like to tell you who his co-workers are. His co-workers are Al Bernstein, Steve Farhood, Al Bernstein, Steve Farhood, Brian Custer, and I'm sure whoever the Showtime, but the people that are right there with him and talking to him on a regular basis. Rolly Marinaro? I always mess up his name, right? So those group of people that he was getting complaints from those type of people. Now, where would he get these? Why would they be complaining? Because whenever Pauli Malignaggi says something stupid or something offensive, people run to the websites and start jumping in the chest of all of the Showtime team, right? And saying stuff to them about what Pauli's saying. Now, so then this stuff happened where Pauli Malignaggi. So let me back up. So originally you have Pauli Malignaggi putting himself in the middle of the Conor McGregor fight, right? And basically being an attention slut for right, and putting himself in the middle of it instead of sitting on the sideline and doing what it is that Showtime wants him to do, which is cover the fight and leave the marketing and all that stuff to them. He also then had ostracized himself with his co-workers because he might not believe that his viewpoint is racist and offensive, but maybe, and I'm not saying Brian Custer is the guy, right? I don't know that. They didn't say it, but that might offend Pauli. That might offend Brian Custer. Also, you got to have guys like Al Bernstein and this very Trumpish language coming out of Pauli Malignaggi's mouth might offend Al Bernstein, right? You just know, because I do believe Al Bernstein is Jewish. So, it's just Pauli Malignaggi. It's good to see that it was not just Black people in the LDBC that were really ticked off about that interview that led to him, according to these sources, that led to Pauli Malignaggi being fired. That it was an accumulation of things, that what we've been saying about, or what we've observed about Pauli Malignaggi over the last several years, right, since 2017, and that pretty much does date back to around the time that Pauli Malignaggi started acting a fool, right? Well, back to from 2017 all the way to 2020, we've been talking about this on a regular basis. So it's really good to see that people were paying attention to that Stephen Espinosa's like, no, this is not just one thing. This is something that's too simplistic just to say that it was because he said this one thing. No, it is. Now Stephen Espinosa can't give you any particular details about it because it's a personnel issue, right? And you have all kind of, he's not going to run himself sideways by putting out some information in there and opening himself up and Showtime up, to troubles down the road for sharing that information. But he gave enough information to let you know. Now, Pauli Malignaggi got fired because Pauli Malignaggi had been a bad actor at Showtime, that he had isolated himself or ostracized himself from coworkers because of the things that he's saying away from work, which is, dude, just not being very professional, right? If you are going to be the face of a network, everything that you do and everything that you say is associated with that network. So, Showtime was like, nah, we're not trying to do that. They let Pauli Malignaggi go. Now, I'd also speculated, and this makes more sense to me as well, about why, like, one of the reasons why they might have pulled the trigger on him now and not let it go any further than that, right? Because they've been dealing with this, obviously, with Pauli Malignaggi for several years. And Pauli Malignaggi wasn't changing. But if he got to, as an employee, if he gets to 40 years old, then it's going to be a lot harder and it's going to be a lot more expensive to give him a severance package and have him walk away if this thing went past November. But again, also take a little bit of this, hero worship for people that might sympathize with Pauli Malignaggi. You got to take that away, because Pauli Malignaggi did try to apologize, and he gave an apology that where they read in there like, nah, that's not going to work. They sent it back to him, and then they fired him before he could come back with his second edit. So Pauli Malignaggi didn't stand on his square. According to this conversation, it was Showtime. It was Showtime that chose to get rid of him. So they pointed out some misreporting, or at least, a different angle from the original reporting. And there you have it, man. And goodbye to good riddance with Pauli Malignaggi. Anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.